Right. Hello everyone. How are you all doing today? Let's see. There we go. I've got my old top t-shirt on today. Let's do some fusion development. And some good news. We're doing less development than we thought today, as I've kind of alluded to on Twitter. We don't need to do components anymore. So I'd like to talk about that because it's quite interesting. So let's see. Do we still have all this code? Yeah, we do. Where is test main? There it is. So if you take a look here, we've been doing components like this. So we'll just isolate it out a bit. So this is how we were doing components in the last stream, right? We were using functions as components, which looks a bit similar to some stuff you might see from like Rollout and stuff. And in the last stream, I said that this is not how components would end up looking in Fusion because there were too many problems with these that couldn't be easily solved. And what I was referring to there was component cleanup. So if this component created something like a state object, so I don't know, local state equals state 5, that's not 5, that's a percentage sign. But basically, if the state object was created inside of a component like this, well, because this only runs once when you create the thing, right? This will never get destroyed because its destroy function is never called and it wouldn't be garbage collected otherwise. So that was a bit of a problem. And by that, I mean, it was a lot of a problem. So what I was originally planning was for components to perhaps look a bit more like, let's see, local search box equals component function like that. And the reason why is because I wanted to wrap these functions in something that could figure out when these state objects are being created and automatically figure out when the component is destroyed and then link the two up together. And it was going to be quite a complicated system actually, because obviously I'm sure you can imagine that's not a very simple thing to do. But I figured out there's a root problem here that's not being addressed, and that this is just kind of a bit of a hacky workaround that would make function components entirely possible. And that was that these state objects here don't garbage collect properly. And all of the solutions I was talking about are basically just hacks to get around the fact that this, when it goes out of scope and it stops being used and everything, wouldn't get garbage collected. And so you probably saw me tweeting about this on Twitter earlier today. I fixed this now, and it's involved a few changes under the hood. So you'll notice, firstly, if we go into like a state object or something, the dependent set, which is like, it's like an array of all of the state objects depending on this state object, now has weak keys. So you've got __ mode equals k, which basically means weak references, which means that it's not going to stop garbage collection. And you'll also notice I've had to move the onChange event outside of that initial declaration because it uses self now. And the reason why that event is taking self is because events now have the ability to hold references open when they have listeners attached, which basically all of this means, like in more simple terms, is that when you create a state object and you connect something to the onChange event, the onChange event will keep the state object from getting garbage collected. Otherwise, if you're not using the state object, if you're not listening to onChanged, if you're not using it elsewhere to compute other things, then it will be garbage collected. That's basically what all of this amounts to. So there's a specific example of this that would illustrate this quite nicely if we just make ourselves a bit of space. So say local state equals state 5 here, right? And this state, we're just going to assume it never goes out of scope. It's never going to get garbage collected because it's like global or whatever. Something you could do before that would kind of screw everything up, you could make a do block. You say local computed equals computed function. I'm going to nudge my microphone up a bit. It's making it a bit difficult to type. It's not on camera. Okay, good. But let's say the computed depends on the state. So, I don't know, +2 or something, right? And what we're going to do, we're not going to use this computed for anything. We're just going to let it fall out of scope. And that's that, right? Now, intuitively, what you would think would happen would be, we made this computed, we haven't used it anywhere. So when we go out of this scope, it should be garbage collected, right? Well, previously, that wouldn't happen because here's the thing. Computed depends on state, which means that state holds a reference to computed, right? Because of that dependency relationship, when state updates here, it's going to need to know that computed depends on it so that it can update it. So internally, the reactive graph, which is what this is all part of, was keeping references to objects that were otherwise not being used and that were out of scope. So what I did to solve that was to make the reactive graph store weak references to dependents. In other words, like if you have a situation like this where this object only depends on the state object, nothing else depends on it, then it will garbage collect that correctly because that's weakly referenced. However, this introduced a second problem, which is that now if you did like computed.onChange connect like this, well, now we're using the computed, but we're not keeping a reference to it. So I don't know, we say print computed get, right? So when we leave this block, like computed goes out of scope, right? And we're not keeping any references to it, and so it gets garbage collected. Except, ooh, where have I gone? Hello, code, where are you? There we go. What was I saying again? So the computed object goes out of scope, and we haven't kept any references to it outside of that scope, and so it gets garbage collected. But the problem there is, well, now the computed object doesn't exist, which means your event handler is never going to fire. So even though intuitively you would think this computed object should fire that event handler, it's not going to do that anymore because, you know, you're not using it, you're not keeping the reference to it. So I had to implement a special mechanism to force the computed to not be garbage collected when you're using onChange, which is what the whole event reference thing is all about. So yeah, that's what I've spent my time doing really. That and also more cleanup code. So inside new here, you can see I now have cleanup tasks here. And what I do with that is I insert into that table all the event connections and stuff that we've been making in new so far. And then I connect it to the instance using this cleanup on destroy function here, which is basically just one big lumbering hack to detect when you destroy an instance reliably. So basically, TLDR, I've been working on cleanup code, and it's all working now, so things get cleaned up. And also, as a little bit of a side effect, because we're garbage collecting everything properly, we can just use functions for components. We don't need to implement them ourselves, which is fantastic. It's simple, it's lovely, and I should really check chat. So let's do that now. Hello, sup? Hello everyone. Sorry I didn't check chat earlier, to be honest. I probably should have done that. But now you know what's going on. So that's why we're not working on components today, because technically we already have components. They're called functions and they're fantastic. So let's just get rid of all that stuff that we typed in. Like that, just so we have something functional. And I'll get rid of my benchmarking code as well, because it is kind of weird. Set that, and then make a main GUI. And hopefully all the tests pass. Yep, they all pass, all 49 of them. Look at all those tests. Benchmarks. Yeah, the only problem with all of this garbage collection stuff is that my benchmarks are now a bit slower. Like, what's the slowest one? Yeah. Connecting an event handler is pretty slow. And wait a second. I got rid of that. Oh, because I didn't connect Roho. Oopsies. I should have done that before the stream. Yeah, I was going to question that for a second, but get rid of that. Yeah, my benchmarks do run a bit slower now because it has to obviously do all the cleanup stuff. But it's literally microseconds, so who cares? Yeah, like connecting an event handler takes like almost 15 microseconds now. It's pretty bad. It's the worst thing in the world. But yeah, everything still works, so it's all cool. And it all cleans itself up now properly. Or at least it should do in theory. So anyway, what are we working on today? It has been like 17 minutes and we haven't even talked about what we're doing today. Wow. I really did go off on a bit of a tangent, didn't I? So today, because we've already got components sorted now, we can focus on animations. And this is like the second to last step before Fusion gets released out into the world, which is really exciting. Like, we just need to do all this animation stuff. And then it's just like unit testing, benchmarking, code review, all that stuff, documentation. So like all of that stuff, which I'll call like the finishing up, is like the last step. So we're just one step away from the last step. We're just doing animations now. And I want to propose to you a unified idea of animation, which I think you're going to love, right? I think this is going to be one of the unique selling points of Fusion, is just how stupid simple it is to animate literally anything. And here's the idea. So you'll notice here with this like new function, oftentimes what we want to do is we want to, like, I don't know, like animate background color or transparency or position. And these are all like properties, right? And so what lots of people assume is that, oh, so if we want to introduce animation into this UI library, we should use like Tween service. So we have some sort of mechanism to tell the new function to use Tween service rather than just setting the property directly, right? Which would be fantastic, except it's limiting. And also it's adding another function, is adding another feature to the new function, which already deals with a lot. Like, look how much code is in the new function. It does a ton of work already. I would not want to add even more work onto this. So my big idea is, where is new? Or wait, where is test main? Sorry, there it is. My big idea is, instead of using Tween service inside of the new function to like animate properties, because that limits you firstly just to properties, you can't animate anything else, and also secondly adds more cruft to the new function, which is bad. What if we do a bit of a mental shift, right? Like when we're animating these properties, what are the properties? They're probably state objects, because in Fusion, to make something change on an instance, you pass a state object in as like the property. For example, do we have an example of this here? Button here, it's got props.text. That's going to be a state object, right? Do we have any other examples of that here? Like theme.dark and theme.mainText and all of this. These are all state objects, right? So when we're saying we want to animate a property, why don't we instead say animate a state object? So instead of making this a question about properties on instances, we're talking about state objects. The big idea is that, what if animating stuff was done completely in state, not as like something visual, not as like a property change or something? What if you just animated state to create more state? Because then what that lets you do is like your animated property then just becomes another piece of state, and then you can do all of your regular operations on that state. Like you can, for example, you could have like a counter that you then like apply like tweens to get like a nice smooth counter, and then you can plop that into a computed to, I don't know, like floor the value or like do some formatting, add some text onto the end, And now suddenly you haven't animated a property, you've animated a piece of data, and then you've done a bunch of computation on that animated piece of data, and then you can like plug that into an instance to show it on the screen, right? And so fundamentally, I think this is a way more flexible animation model or I guess transition model, because it's all about tweens and springs and stuff. But like, importantly, I think it's simpler too. It's like, imagine like just like having a function that takes in a state object and like a tween info or something, and it will just return out a new piece of state that targets whatever value that state object is currently at, but like it tweens there like smoothly. Well then, animating a property is just as simple as sticking whatever the property is through that tweening function to get out a piece of state that is smoothly animated. It literally doesn't get much simpler than that. So that's the big idea, and that's what I want to start working towards implementing today. And so let us collapse all of this stuff. We're going to create a new folder. It's going to be called Animation. Woo! It's going to appear right at the top because it's A. Let's check chat. My boy, how are you doing? Hello. Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you doing? So, first thing we're going to implement is... what should we implement? I think we should do tweens first, because tweens would be... well, they're the simplest, I think. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off by building an object which lets you like manually control the tweening of a single value. And then what I'll do is I'll build a function that lets you easily convert state into like tweened state, and it will just use that internally. So we'll start with a Tween Controller .lua, and this will be... that actually sounds like a much better way of animating. Yeah, and like I think it's much more flexible for me for the reasons I've already said. But yeah, good. How's Fusion going? Yeah, it's going better than ever. We're doing less work than we thought we needed to, which is always fantastic. So this is going to be an object for managing, or an object for tweening a single value. I mean, it's a bit of a pants comment, but it will do. Local class, like that. Local class meta table. Index is class. Local tween controller. Well, I guess it's a function, isn't it? Local function tween controller. And then that's going to be type tween controller, class meta table, return self, and then return tween controller. And that's our basic little object. Now what do we do with it? I don't know. Let's check chat. Nothing's happened in chat. Of course nothing's happened in chat. It's been like 5 seconds. So, how should we do this? Well, first things first, you're going to pass in like an initial value, right? So, initial value animatable, let's say. But where's animatable going to be defined? We should define that as a type, right? So we go in here and you say export type animatable. What things can be animated? It's a great question. So let's go to the API reference and see what all of the different data types are. Resources. Is it in resources? No, it's in API reference. The data types. Right, so which one of these can we animate? Let's snap that. What are axes? Is this an enum? Nope, it's like a bit field kind of thing. Brick color. Can we animate brick colors? Is it a sensible question to ask? Let's not animate brick colors for now. What are we working on? A UI library. Specifically, I'm working on the animation part of the Fusion UI library. So, C frames, animatable. Well, I mean, first we should obviously go over the primitive types, right? So, number is animatable. Boolean's animatable. Booleans are not animatable, we'll say, for now. That doesn't make sense, does it, really? Number. What else can we animate? Can we animate strings? No. Can we animate nil? No. Can we animate a function or a table? No. So it's really just Roblox types from this point onwards, like other numerical types. So C frames are animatable. Color 3s are animatable. Are color sequences animatable? No. But color sequence key points? I think so. So we got color sequence key points. Yeah, so when will Fusion be released and how long have you been working on it? I've been working on Fusion for like the past year, maybe 2 years at this point, actually. And it'll be released whenever it's done, which is hopefully soon. Like, I want to get an early version out very soon. In order for that to happen, I'll need to finish working on the animation stuff, and then I'm going to need to unit test everything. I'm going to need to write a bunch of benchmarks. I'm going to need to write all the documentation and tutorials, make example projects, and all that stuff. And then I'll release on GitHub, like, and sort of experimental early release kind of thing, where it's like, it's not 100% where I want it to be, but it's early enough that I can gather feedback, right? So that's the story of that. Hopefully that answers your question. So color sequence key points are animatable. Is the date time animatable? Yes. Wait, is date time even enabled yet? Let's check that. Print date time. No. Is it still disabled? I'll be very sad. Does it? What? Datetime.now. Oh, that's confusing. Oh my god, datetime is enabled, guys. When did this happen? When? What? When was datetime enabled? That's sick. So anyway. Yeah. I'll get to those properties, right? I'm going through the index alphabetically because I want to get everything. So datetime is enabled, which is cool. .widget plugin GUI info, definitely not. We can't animate that. Faces, I think, is another like bit field kind of thing. Yeah, it's a bit field. Can we animate an instance? That makes no sense. Number range, can we animate? Yep, because it's just a bunch of numbers. Basically, an animatable thing is just like something which is like can be represented as a vector of integers or numbers or something like that. Anything that can be represented as some dimensional vector. That's basically what we're looking at. So number range, number sequence. And like the reason why like number sequences aren't animatable is because they're not, it doesn't have a consistent like dimension, right? when I say like represented as an n-dimensional vector, I mean that all instances of it have to be represented by an n-dimensional vector, not one that's a variable length. So number sequence, because if you think about it, what if we changed the number of things in the number sequence, right? Well, we can't animate it anymore. So that's why I can animate the key points, but not the actual things. So number sequence, key point. Yeah, that's all animatable. What's a pathway point? Is this the pathfinding thing? Can't be animated. It has an E in a minute. I don't know. I kind of just joined. Not sure what you're working on over there. Yeah, I'm just defining which things are animatable so that I can write code that can animate all of these. Basically, what I want to do, I want to turn whatever thing you pass in into like an array of numbers, so I can then animate each of those numbers independently and then put them back together into hopefully a valid data type. So can this be animated? I don't know why you would animate this in a framework, but you can animate physical properties, sure. Is it weird? Yes. Am I going to judge you for it? No. You can't animate a random. Can you animate array? Yeah, we'll say so. Animate array. Why the hell not? Raycast parameters, no. Result, no. Can't animate that. You can definitely animate a rect. So you do rect. Region 3s. Should we do region 3s? Yeah, you can do that. And region 3 int 16. So the thing is, like, with things like physical properties, I know this is a UI framework or UI library, but I just want to be comprehensive because I don't know what somebody's going to try to do with Fusion. Somebody's going to require something that requires physical properties to be animatable one day. I just know it. Like, someone's going to try something. So what do you use Luau syntax for? I see you only use it for certain things. I use Luau syntax for providing types for public APIs. So if I have a function which I'm exposing to users of the library, I want to have type definitions for all of the arguments if I can. And so that's what I mainly use Luau for. I also use some of its like shorthands a bit. But generally, I don't use typed Luau inside of my functions because usually that's either it can be inferred or like it just doesn't matter, or that I need more flexibility than what the type system would currently allow. So inside of my functions, I don't use types really, but I use it in the definitions of my functions if I can, just for like clarity and to give anyone using the library, some idea of what these functions are expecting. Could you just represent a boolean as a rounded integer and have it be a 0 or 1 depending on how close the alpha is to the start/end? Yes, but also would you want that? Is that useful? Maybe. Screw it, why not? Boolean. Because it is technically just a clamped integer. It's just an integer clamped to the 0-1 range, meaning it can only have one of two values. So, yeah. Sure, we'll roll with it for now. It's a bit interesting, but it doesn't matter too much. I mean, you shouldn't be animating booleans anyway, unless you're doing some interesting things. I mean, maybe it's just for like generic code. Yeah, I'm not sure why somebody would want to do that, but yeah. But it's just for robustness, isn't it? And completeness. Vector 2 int 16, vector 3, and vector 3 int 16. Cool, so that's all the things that we need to worry about, I think. If I've missed anything, please tell me, because I would quite like to know. So we're going to need some conversion functions. So What should we call this thing? So what I'm thinking that we're going to need some functions that like turn one of these types into an array of numbers, and then we're going to need one that turns the array of numbers back into the thing, right? So, what should we call it then? Is it like, it's not a disassembler, it's like a splitter? Or it's just like, unpack. Unpack numbers. Unpack numeric, unpack coordinates, unpack animatable. Unpack type. Unpack numbers. This is a really hard thing to name. Hello, Zondan. Unpack. Say unpack type. Why not? It's easy enough. It unpacks, and you should probably finish the Tween Controller at some point as well. But whatever. We'll work on this file for now. Unpacks an animatable type into an array of numbers. So say local function unpack type original animatable, and this is going to return a list of numbers. You can't use plurals. Return unpack type like that. Then we're going to need local package equals require, well not require, it's going to be script dot parent, and then local types require package dot types, and then this is types dot animatable. Cool. Transform animatable, that's a bit long. Right. And also remember, we're going to need a function that converts the animatable into an array of numbers, and we're going to need a function that does that in reverse. Right? We're going to say value types animatable type string. Should we use, no, we'll just detect the type ourselves, that'd be cleaner. So local type string is going to be type of value. So now if we pull our types over here, so we're going to say if type string is number, else if type string boolean, else if type string, we're going to be here a while, so I'm going to make it a bit quicker for us. Boolean, C-frame, color 3, color sequence key point, date time, number range. You can see we're going to be here for a bit of a while, aren't we? Number sequence key point, physical properties. Oh, we have a lot of animatable stuff actually, looking at it. Ray, rect, region 3, region 3 int 16, udim, udim2, vector 2, vector 2 int 16, vector 3, why'd you do local function name thing2 end return name instead of return function thing2 end? Just because I feel like it, honestly. Like, there's no real reason. Like, I just do. It doesn't really make a difference. It's the same thing said two different ways. And I just like my functions have names. Like, my functions have names. Like, anonymous functions I don't vibe with as much. So now what do we do if something isn't animatable? Don't want an error, necessarily. We'll just do a question mark. So into an array of numbers. If the type, we won't use nil. We won't do nil because we'll just use an empty array because that way it's always an array, which is good. It's always technically an array of numbers, even if it's of length 0. So if the type is not animatable, an empty array will be returned. Like that. Fantastic. So if it's a number, we just return the number in an array. Or the value in an array, I suppose. If it's a Boolean, then return... we'll just do if value, then return 1, else return 0. I think that's the clearest way you can write that out. Otherwise, if it's a C frame, how should we decompose the C frame into a series number? Should we do a Quaternion? I think we should do a Quaternion, but I don't know how to do Quaternions. No, honestly. To the dev forum we go. Let's learn about Quaternions together, hey? C frame, Quaternion. Well, that's fantastic, isn't it? Nothing. Could you, instead of having a bunch of ifs, have a table that represents all the properties in each type that is a number, then have it form the table that way? Yes, but that would be longer. Like, if you think, it'd also be less efficient. Because if you did it like that, we'd essentially have a table of like functions that. No, we'd have a table of functions, and then in unpack type, we'd have to iterate over, like, well, I guess we could just look up. Well, we just use the type string as a key into the dictionary into that table, right? And then we'd call the associated function, which is just the same. It's the same thing, except you've just put it in a table, really, and you're now going through an extra function call, which introduces overhead. So I'll just do it like this. It's just simpler. I mean, no matter how you slice this, we're going to be writing a piece of code for each of these cases. You can't really magic your way out of that. Like, it's always going to be like this, no matter what you do. So it's basically just like, which way do you want to write it? And the way I want to write it is the simplest possible way, the one that's most idiomatic, the one that's most performant, the one that doesn't try to disguise itself behind like a table of like functions or anything. So can we get a Quaternion? Can we? Yeah, you can create a C frame from a position in the Quaternion. Can we get the Quaternion out of a C frame? No, we get a Quaternion? Why? You can get vector free number, you can get axis angle rotation. Well, I mean, is a Quaternion the same thing as an axis angle rotation? Like, what is the difference between Quaternion and axis angle? Quaternions and axis angle are both 4D representations of 3D rotations orientations, and both have pros and cons. Axis angle represents the rotation by its angle A and the rotation axis N. Holy if statements, yeah. It only looks scary because you're not used to it. No. Because here's the thing, right? You could refactor this into a table containing functions, except you just now have a massive table of functions. It's the same thing, just written in like a different way. Like you're not going to get away from all of these if statements. Like from my experience, just stick with the if statements. Don't worry about it, right? Like, it's just easier this way. Like, I know it looks terrible, but yeah. So axis angle represents the rotation by its angle. So rotation of 180 degrees around the y-axis with A 180 and 010. The representation is very intuitive, but for actually applying the rotation, another representation is required, such as a quaternion or rotation matrix. So quaternion represents rotation by a 4D vector, requires more math and is less intuitive, but is a much more powerful representation. Quaternions are easily interpolated, and it's easy to apply them on a 3D point. These formulas can easily be found on the web. Damn. So how do we... So how do we convert a C-frame rotational part into a quaternion? I want to convert it into a quaternion. Bam. This is going to be difficult. Because I'm not familiar with quaternions, right? So, Roblox quaternion C-frame. Oh, ego moves for this one. Nice. So this is literally just me learning how quaternions work the live stream, like. So, because here's the thing, right? I know that if you want to interpolate a C-frame, like if you want to smoothly transition from one C-frame to another, like if you smoothly move the position, that's fine. You can just interpolate that straight up. But you can't do the same thing for the rotation matrix. Like if you try and like interpolate the rotation matrix, you're just going to end up with a bunch of nonsense. And so it's just going to be your C-frame's going to turn inside out. It's going to get all stretched and squished, and then it's going to end up at the like end, which is not a correct animation, right? The way that you animate a rotation is you interpolate the quaternions, right? But I just don't know how to do that, so I'm just trying to figure that out. Quaternions around a single axis work in a somewhat similar way, but not exactly as above. The good news is that it's a very small difference. In the above image, you can see that represents 45 degrees. If we were to plug those numbers into the W and X components of a quaternion, we'd get a rotation of 90 degrees around the X-axis. Why? If we did the same exercise for other points. If a quaternion is just a rotation around a given axis. Yeah, it's just like... I don't know if I'm missing something, because I know that an axis angle rotation and a quaternion are not equivalent. And what I want to know is that Like, if I want to interpolate a rotation, is it okay to interpolate the axis of rotation and the angle around the axis? Or is that going to introduce some kind of non-orthonormality? Because here's the thing, right? What that means is that if I take a C-frame rotation, right, I want to be able to modify that in a way that doesn't distort the object, one that keeps it orthonormal, which you would normally use a quaternion for. I just don't know if you can do the same thing with an axis angle rotation. So we can take any point on the edge of the circle, find the angle. When we plug that point to W and X components of quaternion, we rotate twice amount. This implies that quaternions we have 720 or 0 degrees of rotation at 0.10. So alright. Double cover. Even though we're looking at a single axis, we can start to see some of the advantages that quaternions provide. Let's start by simply seeing what happens when we flip the W component in our 90-degree rotation example. Right. I think that makes sense. So far. Sure, yeah. So what if we flip all the quaternion components? Yeah, cool. Yeah. You see here, like, you can modify a quaternion and it remains orthonormal at all times, which is what I want. Cool, I haven't lost a shit ton of viewers yet. I don't think. This is, yeah, this is the thing I don't like about this. This is not super intuitive. Like, I mean, this is probably not Ego Moose's fault. It's just genuinely probably because quaternions are really hard to intuit. But like, there has to be a better way than this. This is like so much text. I want images. Like, I want to be shown, not told. Yeah, the concept of blending rotations on the surface of a circular object is exactly how full 4D quaternions work. Hmm. Oh, there's a problem with that, right? Because then, because how would you? Well, what I've just realized that if we just represent everything as an array of numbers, we're not taking into account the what the domain looks like. Because like if you think about it, there's a difference between a real number, which can just be whatever number you want on just a standard number line, and a real number representing some angle around a circumference, right? Specifically when you talk about distances. The distance between two real numbers on a straight number line from negative infinity to infinity is just going to be the difference of those numbers, straight up, right? However, if those numbers exist on a circumference, like if you're talking about like an angle or something, it's not necessarily just going to be the difference of the two angles, because there's two distances. There's the long distance and the short distance. So like, this is going to be difficult is what I'm trying to say. 1 second. Let's see how fractality handles this in this spring module. Because I know he does a similar thing. Yeah, this is really juicy. Right. Spring Lua. Where is C-frame? Oh, he doesn't have C-frame. Oh. Okay. Interesting. But is that... Oh, this is difficult. You know what? Should the C-frame be animatable? I mean, because obviously, like, it seems like it should, because, you know, like, position and rotation stuff, but the problem is the rotation. Then think about, for example, what it would mean to perform a physically driven spring simulation on a C-frame rotation. What does that look like? Like, because ideally what I'm looking for is a way to break down these animatable types into like independent axes that can then be very easily like animated with a tween or like spring simulated. But like, you can't really do that with a rotation. Not in a sensible way anyway. Well, I guess by sensible I mean that also normal. Or no, it could be orthonormal and be not sensible if you were using like a Quaternion. So it's good that I'm thinking about this now because I don't think I supported C-frames in my fusion prototypes. So I think I'll stick with axis angle, and that should be fine for now. Would it be? Components? No, you can't use the components of a C-frame because it's not guaranteed to be orthonormal. Like what we're looking for some representation that is we're looking for some representation that will always be orthonormal, and that like because the reason why is because we're looking for a space that we can generate new values in, right? Like, because the reason why we're trying to unpack these types into arrays of numbers is so that we can animate these numbers. So we're going to be creating new values like in each dimension. And so we want to guarantee that no matter what values we pick, we're going to get something orthonormal, or at least any values we pick within the domain of what can be unpacked, if that makes any sense. And so we can't just use the rotation matrix components because the components of a rotation matrix, if they're just chosen at random, it's likely not orthonormal. Everyone's commenting on the if statements. They're not that scary. Like, you understand what they do, right? It's like a switch statement. So what I'll do for now, I'll just return value.x, value.y, value.z. The local axis angle is value to axis angle. I think that's what the method was called. So I'll just use an axis angle for this, and I'll just have to normalize the axis. Yeah. So the axis and the angle. Yeah. So then axis.x, axis.y, axis.z, and angle. Is there a better way to represent the angle? I'll just roll with it for now. So I'll put a note. I'll say future is there a better way of doing this? I mean, it shouldn't be particularly egregious. But doing distance calculations on angle may be incorrect. I mean, you're not really going to use C-frames much in UI development, but like, I really want to make that work. Would there be no way to reliably use the orthonormalize method? No, that's not the point. The point is that because, so say for example, we're trying to lerp between two C-frames, which is roughly what you'd be doing when you're doing like a tween, right? When you're lerping between these two C-frames, what we're going to inevitably do, we're going to be lerping each of these values from the old one to the new one. If you do that with the components of a rotation matrix, you're going to get nonsense, right? If you try and lerp the components of a rotation matrix, you don't get a smooth rotation. Now, it doesn't even matter if you orthonormalize it afterwards because you've put garbage in, and so you're going to get garbage out no matter what you do. Really what you need to represent the rotation in a way that when you lerp it, you get a sensible movement. And that's the tricky bit. So, yeah. So that's why I'm not using orthonormalize and Z-frame components. So now color 3 is pretty easy. That's just value.r, value.g, and value.b. Color sequence key point will be, I don't remember the shape of a color sequence key point. There we go. Time and value. So value.value.r, value.value.g, value.value.b, value.time. Cool. But you see what I'm doing here, right? I'm dividing up all of these types into a vector of deterministic length, and it's so we can animate the vector. So value.unix timestamp millis, I believe it was, if I remember correctly. Datetime kind. Ooh. So yeah, these are integers. So Unix timestamp millis we'll go with. Number range. What's the shape of a number range? Yeah, min and max. So return value.min and value.max. Number sequence key point is going to be value.value and value.time, I believe. I hope so anyway. Let's check that. Data type index, n for number sequence, key point. Time value and envelope. Yes. So value.envelope. We shall not forget the envelope. I really need to stop opening Studio. Let's just do that. Okay. Physical properties. I need to remember this now. So density, friction, elasticity, friction weight. So return value.density, value.friction, value.elasticity, value.friction weight, value.elasticity weight. So when you have array, that's return, so it's value.origin.x, value.origin.y, value.origin.z, value.direction.x, value.direction.y, and value.direction.z. Fantastic. And then the rect. I hope I got the ray thing right. I did that entirely from memory. Origin direction, yep, cool. So rect, I don't use rects often. I know you use them for 9 slicing images, so I definitely need to support them. Return value.min.x, value.min.y, value.max.x, and value.max.y. So then the region 3, I guess it's going to be the same deal. Min xy, value.min.z, and value.max.z, like that. Lovely doubly. Let's just check that actually exists, because again, I have not used the region 3 in a hot minute. It does not exist. Well. Oh no, region 3s can be rotated now? Since when? What? Oh dear. Wait, how do you create a rotated region 3? I do not understand. Why is there a C-frame when you can't construct a rotated region 3? Whatever. That sucks. A future C-frame note above. Let me say value.C-frame to axis angle. This is going to be fun. So value.C-frame.x, value.C-frame.y. They've always had the C-frame represented position. I have no idea why. I mean, it's good for forward compatibility, but it's a bit interesting. Let's say value.size.x, value.size.y, value.size.z. We should really break this up on multiple lines. Like that. There you go. Region 3 int 16, please don't be the same. Thank fuck. I'm so late to the stream. Welcome. You're just watching us descend into madness, writing functions for splitting up data types into numbers. Buongiornonomy. Yeah, mon. And isn't it Ami with an E? Or am I just misremembering that and just butchering a foreign language? Uh, so value.min.x, value.min.y, value.min.z, value.max.x, value.max.y, and value.max.z. Fantastic. Then udims, I know how to animate these. This is going to be value.scale and value.offset. It took me a second. And then udim2 is just going to be 2 udims. Return value.x.scale, value.x.offset, value.y.scale, and value.y.offset. Like so. Yeah, since you're just tuning in right now, Bo, don't worry about all of this madness. I'm setting up for doing animation because these things need to be able to be animated and spring simulated and all that stuff. Had to write these kinds of serialized things a million times and I redo it each time instead of copying because I'm dumb. It's good practice, on the right side of things. So vector2, value.x, value.y. Oh yeah, by the way, I have actually written this code before because obviously I've had to prototype Fusion before. It looks basically now, it doesn't look exactly the same as this. I think this was rolled into like the controller classes and everything, but it looks kind of like this. So return value.x, value.y. My real problem right now with this representation of like animated values as like arrays of numbers, both, is that it's really hard to represent a rotation in this format without having weird, quirky stuff go on. So yeah, first class animation and spring support. Fusion is sexy. Yeah, and here's the thing, right, Bo? You're not just going to be able to animate properties. You can animate any piece of state. Like animation is not something baked into like the new function. It's not baked into properties. Animation is done in the state tree, which means that you can do computations on animated values. Like you can have a player counter, right? And this player counter might change really rapidly up and down and stuff. And like without animation, obviously it's going to look a bit choppy. It just jumps up to like 1,324 and now it's gone down to 102,000 or something. I don't know, numbers. But what you could do, because animation is going to be in the state tree, you can apply a tween to the player count. And so you get a nice smoothly animated number. Then you can pass that into a computed object, which, I don't know, floors it or something, rounds it to the nearest number. Then pass it into another computed object, which will then like add a message or something like it's this many players. And then you can pass that into the text property of a text label. And that sort of thing, you could never do that with Tween Service or like Roact or anything like that. But you'll be able to do it with Fusion, and it'll be really easy to do. I'm really looking forward to like getting it working. Give it to me. Yeah, well, I mean, we're almost done. Like, after animation is done, it's just documentation, unit testing, benchmarking, writing example code, all that stuff. It's so hype. When we get this done, it's going to be ready for like the first experimental release. It's going to be so cool. Like, I am really enthusiastic about it. Like, anyway, by the way, when it comes to like lerping values, I probably won't use this specifically. Like I'll use it as a fallback, but like for most things, I'll probably use the native Roblox lerping functions because they're better. You're such a goddamn tease. I know. It's just like, it's so fantastic. Also, by the way, because you missed this at the beginning of the stream, you want to know what components look like. Components look exactly what they looked like last stream. Like we can use function components. Look at this. This is a component. You don't have to do class components. You don't have to do like extend. You don't have any like boilerplate code. You just make a function and you return some instances from it. That's a component. Right? And you can add state in there, which will now work because state objects now get properly garbage collected. It's like, how simple do you want it? Like, because I can make it that simple, right? And that I'm so happy with how Fusion is turning out because it was already looking good in the prototypes. Now it looks fantastic. Like this is like, it's even simpler than I thought it would be. And anyway, it's enough raving about how awesome that is. Let's now write the companion function, pack type, .lua. Very intuitively named. Packs an array of numbers into a given animatable data type. Not to dar type. That would be quite funny though. I really love Fusion right now. It's special. Yeah, it is so clean. If the type is not animatable, what will we do if the type is not animatable when we try to pack it up? An error will be thrown. Wait. Wrong file. Oopsie. So we'll do unpack type, and then we'll do pack type. Try not to look at the top of the screen too much because my desk light is literally right behind it and it is going to blind me. Now I need it so that you can see me properly on camera without being like a blotchy mess. But like, it hurts to look at it. So we say numbers, which will be number, and it's going to return types, animatable. And we are going to also need log error from package.logging.log error. Speaking of, since we're doing an error here, we're going to need to add the error message. So messages.not animatable. And we're going to do to-do document this in errors and messages. So the error thing will be the type S is not animatable. Sure, that'll work for now. I mean, there's not really much else to explain there. Well, actually, type it's not animatable. Are you trying to animate a non-numeric or are you trying to animate a non-scalar or non-vector value? That's helpful, I think. Numbers, type string, string. Cool. And then return numbers 1, easy. The type string is Boolean, then if numbers 1 is greater than or equal to 0.5, return true or return false. C-frame. Okay, so return C-frame dot from axis angle, axis angle, but vector3 dot new. I guess it'll be C-frame dot new numbers 1, numbers 2, numbers 3. Multiply that by that. And then there'll be numbers 4, numbers 5 and numbers 6 unit, and then numbers 7. Oh god, region 3 is going to be hell. Oh god. I'll keep the same note there. Oh no, we don't need the note because that's really an unpack type. So then color 3 dot new, and we'll do. Oh shit! No, we shouldn't be doing this. We should be using CLab for our colors. Duh. 1 second. Local CLab equals require package dot color dot CLab. Of course. Because it's the perceptually uniform color space. Return CLab dot. Oh no, we're not going to return CLab. Why is my nose super itchy? I don't understand. It's because that's color 3 to lab, and then lab to color 3, and that's vector 3s and shit. Cool. So we're going to be returning CLab dot lab to color 3 vector 3 dot new, and then the vector 3 would go be numbers 1, numbers 2, and numbers 3, and it's going to be, what's the function signature? Unclamped. Oh yeah, unclamped, not clamped. So we want it to be clamped. Cool. And we're going to need local CLab equals require package dot color dot CLab. And in here, we're going to need return. We'll say local lab equals CLab dot color 3 to lab value, and be lab.x, lab.y, and lab.z. Cool. Perceptually uniform color spaces, guys. They're really important. They just look very pretty, right? So color sequence key points, we'll do return color sequence key point dot new time and color. So numbers 4 and color 3 dot new. Wait. Oh no, we need the lab for that too. There is definitely a better way of organizing this than what I'm doing right now. I'll think about it later. For now, we'll just do this. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Cool. Basically, anything containing a color, go through CLab. It makes this code cleaner, at least. Value. Just makes the other code a bit more of a nightmare. So, date time. Yeah, by the way, Bo, did you know they enabled date time? When did they do that? Let's see. So I really need to remember that date time exists, because it existed for so long without being enabled that I just kind of, I have not used it ever. So from Unix timestamp millis. God, that's such a long constructor. From Unix timestamp millis. Numbers 1. This is one-dimensional, so that's all that matters. Turn number range dot new min and max. So numbers 1 and numbers 2. Cool. Value time envelope. So return number sequence key point dot new time value envelope. So cool. Physical properties. Return physical properties, not new. Yeah, this would all be so much simpler if Roblox just made all numeric types have a lerp function, or like all types that can be represented as an array of numbers like have a lerp function. If region 3s had a lerp function, if like color sequence key points had a lerp function, this would be so much easier. But alas, we cannot lerp all of the things. So density, friction, elasticity, friction weight, elasticity weight. Yep, so it's just in order. So numbers 1, numbers 2, numbers 3, numbers 4, and numbers 5. But I know I could use unpack to like unpack the array, but overhead. No, this is faster, it's simpler, less prone to bugs, all of that good stuff. So return array.new vector3.new numbers 1, 2, and 3. So I could probably represent this like array.new and it'd just be like pack type, like the first 3 numbers or something. But with the way I have it set up, this is how we're doing it. Numbers 5 and numbers 6. Fantastic. There we go. Rect is just min and max. So we return rect.new min and max, or can we do all of them separately? Is that a thing? How do I do the down thing from the keyboard? Yeah, min x, min y, max x, and max y. So it is just numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. God, this stuff takes forever, right? Like, my God. Oh yeah, and then region 3. How many values is that? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's a 10-dimensional vector. God, yeah, don't animate region 3s. They're lots of numbers. Oh God. The lengths I go to support every single data type. Return. Wait. We can't construct a rotated region 3. Uh-oh. So we can't construct a rotated region 3. How are we meant to Roblox, why? Why are you like this? Future support rotated region 3s if/when they become constructible. Here's the thing, right? You can theoretically have a rotated region 3 because the position is a C-frame. You just can't construct one, so if you ever get a rotated region 3, you're just going to have to discard the rotation. That's annoying. So return region 3.new. Oh, we need to compute the min and the max vectors. Why? Oh my God. Does this have to be this difficult? Can we just not create a region 3 from a C frame and a size? Like, why are the properties in a different format from the constructor arguments? God damn it. This pain. It's not actually that difficult. It's just why? It's just one of those things where you're just like, were you like high on something when you designed this API? Because that it's just terrible. So this is, wait, no, this is position. We'll copy this comment over here. So position minus half size and then position plus half size. That will do. Roblox, you disappoint. Region 3 int 16s should be the same. No, they won't be. Yeah, because you can actually construct a region 3 int 16 using the properties of a region 3 int 16. Like you should be able to do for any data type. Cough, cough, cough. But so this will just be vector 3 int 16.no. Numbers 1. Numbers 2. Why do we even have int 16 data types? Like, where are they used in the Roblox API? Because I don't know. I mean, region 3 int 16 is fundamentally incompatible with region 3 anyway because it doesn't support rotation. And region 3s do, in theory, support rotation. So it's weird. Udemy.new. Yo guys, you need to chat more. I want to talk. Though to be honest, you're probably just doing your own thing, and that's also really cool. But I want to talk to people while I'm doing this stuff. Nobody in the history of the universe has ever enjoyed writing this code and not talking about random crap. So vector2.new, this be numbers 1. Well, at least thankfully we're at the end of it now. So vector2 int 16.new, numbers 1, numbers 2. And the vector 3, unsurprisingly, is going to be 3 numbers because that's what a vector 3 is. Be interesting if we got like a vector n or like a vector 4. I mean, there'd be no reason to have one. It'd just be kind of interesting to have like a variable dimension vector. Anyway, we did it. Woo! Wait, no, we haven't logged an error yet. So we have to log error. So we're going to log not animatable type string. I'm trying to get spaceship landing legs to work with constraints. Not going great. Oh, God. Yeah, I can imagine. That sounds painful. Working with anything to do with physics is just like... Yeah. I feel sorry for your loss. Yeah, that should be good. And now we just need lerp type. This is like a universal lerp function. Lerp type. So linearly interpolates the given animatable types. If the types are not animatable or not if the types are different or not animatable, then the first type will be returned for values below 0.5, and the second, or the first value for ratio within the interpolates to given animatable types by a ratio. If the types are different or not animatable, then the first value will be returned for ratios below 0.5, and the second value for 0.5 and above. That seems like a sensible definition. By the way, you should multiply angle with axis and then tween it. It would be slightly more sensible than what you're doing. Why? Is that like quaternions? I don't understand. I do not follow. I really need to learn quaternions, which probably means bugging Trey about learning quaternions. I mean, in my defense, I know that Quenty has been doing the same thing. So I mean, he probably already knows how to explain it because he's already been bugged about it a million times. But I don't understand all the quaternion stuff, so you're gonna have to explain it to me. That I really want to learn multivariate calculus. I want to learn quaternions. I want to learn. Oh, I mean, I want to learn calculus itself a bit better, to be honest, because I've been a bit rusty. But I want to learn. I want to learn how to do like differential equations and stuff properly, because I don't really have a good understanding of those. I want to learn like parametric equations properly. So I know what a parametric equation is. I know how to like use them superficially, because I know how to use multivariate functions, or like functions defined in terms of time. Or no, a parametric equation is not going to be a multivariate function unless you're doing some weird shit. But I guess you could have a multivariate parametric equation. Maybe. Does that even make sense? I don't know. This is like the confluence of all the topics I don't know. So yeah, I just want to learn more maths, and quaternions is one of the things I want to learn more about. So I just don't know. It'd probably be quite useful right about now, especially seeing I'm going to be implementing a spring simulation, so I should probably know a bit about differential equations for that. Because I don't want to just rip someone else's code. No, I want to understand it so that I can improve it. Should this be a generic function? I mean, first answer is no, because they're not functional yet, because they had to be turned off. And also, secondly, no, because they can be of different types. In fact, they don't even need to be animatable. I mean, they should be animated. Oh god. Is there a way using Luau types to indicate something should be an animatable value but doesn't have to be animatable? Or doesn't have to be animatable? God damn it. We were doing so well. And well, I mean, by doing so well, we were actually doing stuff, really. So it's not anything to celebrate. It's just like if statements, but Should it be types.animatable, or should it be any? I guess it'll be any. We'll go with any. So we'll say from any. Oops. To any ratio number. That would just return an any, I suppose. So pack type is the correct definition. And I guess this should be an any as well. You know what? Type start animatable or any. It's redundant, but it's explanatory. Ooh, that's long. Still within the line length limit, so I'll roll with it. That is disgustingly long though. And this definitely returns the type animatable, because if it's not animatable, it errors. So cool. Local type string equals type of from. If type of 2 not equals type string, then both types must match for interpolation to make sense. So just return. Well, we'll just do equals equals. And then we'll nest it. And let's just do if ratio is less than 0.5, then return from, else return to. And this is just like fallback case. The types are different or not animatable. Cool, cool, cool. So if type string is number, then return 2 minus from times ratio plus from. If Boolean, then if ratio is more than or equal to 0.5, return 2. Let's return from. I guess that's technically the same as what we just wrote down there, but we'll just be explicit about it because Booleans are technically animatables. So, yeah. But, I don't know. See, because there's two ways of considering what a Boolean is. You can either consider a Boolean as a clamped integer, or you can consider it as an enumeration. Right now, I'm considering it as a clamped integer. I think Booleans won't be animatable then. I think I should start thinking of them like an enumeration. It doesn't make sense to interpolate a Boolean. I'm gonna put my foot down on that, even though literally just a second ago I said that it kind of made sense. So if it's a C-frame, we'll just do C-frame lerp. We'll just completely sidestep the entire issue that we had with our previous representation. So say from lerp to ratio. It's color 3. And we will do clab.lab to color 3. From lab lerp to lab ratio. So we just say local from lab equals clab dot color 3 to lab from, then to lab is going to be clab dot color 3 dot lab 2. Fantastic. So that's lerping a color 3 using clab space. Color sequence key point. How do you lerp a color sequence key point? So it's going to be you lerp the color and you lerp the time. So from 2.time minus from.time times ratio plus from.time. We'll do from lab and to lab here. So this will be from dot value, right? Value, yeah. I mean, I know that I could just try and interpolate in using the unpack type and pack type, but slow. The reason we do not is because it's slow. That is all. Right. Because it'd probably be faster to use this stuff. And also easier to verify it's correct. Date time. You'll put this on new line. So say to the, well, what's the really long thing? Unix timestamp millis. Just going to copy that to the clipboard so I don't have to write it out. Times ratio plus from dot unix timestamp millis. Pargers. From dot min. Okay, 2 dot min minus from dot min times ratio plus from dot min. And then 2 dot max minus from dot max times ratio plus from dot max. That's how you interpolate a number range. Nobody's saying anything. This is the one time where I need to be talking to make it not awkward. So number sequence key point, you interpolate the value, the time, and the envelope. Time, value, envelope. 2.time minus from.time times ratio plus from.time. 2.value minus from.value times ratio plus from.value. 2.envelope minus from.envelope times ratio. Let's type that correctly. Plus from.envelope. I really hope that I'm writing all of this stuff correctly because I would hate to debug it. There's just so many cases to cover. Oh no, I'm going to have to write unit tests for this, aren't I? Well, it looks like I am going to be testing it after all. Damn. Unit tests come to get us all. Okay, how do you interpolate of physical properties? These questions are increasingly getting nonsensical. Density, friction, elasticy. Elasticy, wait? That's a typo. Is that a typo on? I am going to laugh if that's a typo on the actual. Oh, fuck it. I'm not going to use the search. It's shit. I'm going to use the index. No. It's spelled correctly on the dev hub. Is it spelled correctly in the object browser? Why is Studio? God damn it. Why is Studio crashed? I've literally done nothing. It's been minimized. Why is it crashed? So object browser. Hey. After that little blip. How's the rollout of Fusion going to work? Are specific people going to be given an alpha/beta, then have it be released to the public after? Or after all of your tests, will it be released to the public? It'll be more like the latter. So the plan for releasing Fusion is that I want to finish writing this code with all the animation stuff. I want to unit test it all, write all the benchmarks and everything, write some example code, finish up the documentation. Once all of that's done, I'm going to post it on GitHub as an experimental release, just sort of the very first version. It will be available for anyone to download for free to try out, just to see if you like it or not. All the documentation will be published and everything. And I'll be listening to community feedback to see what needs to change, what needs to stay the same. The point of it being an experimental release is that literally nothing is set in stone. It's being released to collect feedback, just to see if I'm on the right path or not, and if there's anything fundamental that needs to change. Where is the object browser? Object browser. There it is. So if we go to physical properties. Huh. Oh, it only contains enums and instances. Duh. So if I go to a script, physical properties.new. It's spelled correctly here. Oh. There is something about Roblox LSP that caused physical properties to be misspelled. Interesting. I'm going to have to report that on the GitHub at some point. So from.density or to.density minus from.density times ratio plus from.density. To.friction minus from.friction times ratio plus from.friction. I think that's the correct ordering. Friction and then elasticity. Yep, so 2.elasticity minus from.elasticity times ratio plus from.elasticity. 2.friction weight minus from.friction weight times ratio plus from.friction weight. Then elasticity weight, so 2.elasticity weight minus from.elasticity weight times ratio plus from.elasticity weight. Fantastic. So that's physical properties. There's a bit of a mouthful. And then we got ray, which is going to be even... Well, it's not really going to be much of a mouthful. Can you lerp array, firstly? Is that a dumb question? No, you can't lerp array. Cool. So we'll just lerp the origin and the direction. So we will do from.origin lerp new.origin or to.origin by ratio from.direction lerp to.direction ratio, and we're not going to normalize the direction because we won't normalize the direction because they might not want that. Because direction can have a length sometimes, like the magnitude does have a meaning in terms of raycasting APIs. Or maybe we should set the we should lerp the magnitude. Yeah, we'll do that. From the this 2 dot from dot direction dot magnitude 2 dot direction dot magnitude minus from dot direction dot magnitude times ratio plus from dot direction dot magnitude. So lerp the direction vector or the unit direction vector, lerp the magnitude, multiply the two together. That makes sense to me. The ray and then rect. So, God, this stuff is brain numbing. It genuinely is brain numbing. So min, max. What properties does a rect have? Yeah, min and max, basically. Can you lerp a rect? I didn't check. No. Why can't you lerp a rect? So from from.min lerp 2.min ratio from.max lerp 2.max ratio. Region 3, we meet again. So, local position. But I'm so like... Region 3s are confusing. Like, they don't make sense. Like, so position is going to be from.cframe.position lerp to cframe.position ratio. Local half size equals from.size lerp 2.size ratio divided by 2. That should be correct, right? These type index. Region 3. Yeah. And then we just create region 3 like that. Region 3 int 16 is a bit more sensible because it was written by sane people. From.min lerp 2.min. Wait, can you lerp a vector 3 int 16? You better be able to lerp a vector 3 int 16. Nope, you can't lerp a vector 3 int 16. Why? Why do you have to do me like this? Question. Can you multiply a vector 3 int 16 by something that is not an int? So print vector 3 int 16.new 10, 10, 10 times 0.5 0, 0, 0 compared to divided by 2 5, 5, 5. Alright, so this is interesting. We're going to have to divide the vector 3 int 16 by the reciprocal of the ratio. Why? Why do we have to do that? So 2.min minus from.min divided by 1 over ratio plus from.min. I'll just put a note here. Note vector 3 int 16 doesn't support multiplication by fractional values, so we have to divide by the reciprocal instead. What a weird limitation. Now we have to do the same for the max. One second, I'm going to post this on Twitter. Because it is very funny. Let there be tweets. Tired, multiply by numbers, wired, divide by reciprocal of number. Oh, you also have to handle special cases when those values will be divided to check if they'll become floats. Wait, what? No, we can't even do that. What? Okay. Yeah, fuck that. Oh, good thing I caught that before I tweeted it out. So we're going to have to lerp each component of the vector 3 int 16 ourselves. Are you fucking kidding me? Who thought this was a good idea? Why can't we just multiply by fractional things? I mean, yes, I get it is meant to be like an integer API. I give up. Like, honestly. This is janky as hell. So from dot min dot x, oh 2 as well. Let's not forget that. 2 dot min dot x minus from dot min dot x times ratio plus from dot min dot x. Please just accept the fractional value and just like round it or something. Or floor it. I don't care. Just do something with it. This is so unclean. I mean, it's explicit, but it's not a good thing. But yeah, thanks for pointing that out, by the way, Synthetic. What are my notifications doing? What is going on here? Why do they need to complete? Oh, because I retweeted the whole thing. It's just like LGBTQ plus development server, and this guy's just like, oh, why do they have to segregate us? Just like, that's not the point. This is such a tired argument, right? Just like, oh, but just like, why can't non-gay people go into gay spaces? Well, because they want the space to themselves. That's allowed. Like, you don't have to be everywhere. Like, because like, here's the thing, right? It's okay for people to have safe spaces. Like, obviously, it's not okay for people to do things like deny you business on the ground of like homosexuality or something, but it's okay for people to want to have a space for themselves to discuss things, like in a safe space for like them. I don't know. I don't understand. But anyway, enough talking about sexual orientation and like safe spaces and stuff. Let's talk about animations and UDIMs and shit. Yeah. Yeah, just remind me to stay off of Twitter. Yeah, you can't lerp a UDIM. Again, whose idea was this? Like, why do I have to lerp a UDIM manually? 2.scale minus from.scale times ratio plus from.scale and 2.offset minus from.offset times ratio plus from.offset. UDIM2, can we lerp UDIM2s? Please tell me we can lerp UDIM2s. That's gotta be a thing. Yes. Thank you. Finally, an API with a lerp built in. There you go. From lerp to ratio. So vector 2s. We can definitely lerp those. Right? Yeah, okay, good. Can we lerp a vector 2 int 16? No. Why? Why can we not lerp these things? From lerp to ratio. It's just like Roblox's main APIs are fantastic. It's just all the really like fringe, obscure APIs that are just horrible. It's like I remember like Boat Bomber and like Scripton were just like complaining about mobile gyroscopic support and like accelerometers and stuff, which is absolutely broken. is that Roblox does not give a shit about their fringe APIs. Like VR, mobile accelerometers, these data types that are really obscure. It's all jank. Like, so anyway, 2.x minus from.x times ratio plus from.x. 2.y minus from.y times ratio plus from.y. And that should be good. Then vector 3's can just be lerped from lerp to ratio. And then this we have to lerp ourselves. Of course we do. Thanks, Roblox. 2.x minus from.x times ratio plus from.x. 2.y minus from.y times ratio plus from.y. And then 2.z minus from.z times ratio plus from.z. Lovely! And so that should be everything lerped and ready to go. Cool. So we've got our lerp types done, we've got pack, and we've got unpack done. How far in are we? We're 2 hours in. Jesus Christ. We are 2 hours in, and our Tween Controller looks like this. We haven't even written any animation code yet. We've just been writing setup code. Damn. Okay. It's quite warm in here. I think I will go get a drink. I'll open the door, and then we can do some like surfing or something or like be hot, just because I want to. So I will be right back. Oh, I should probably turn off the mics as well. Alright, I'm back. I've also realised I kept the stream music muted, so hopefully you enjoyed the silence. Alright. Let's do some B-hop, because I have the attention span of a goldfish. There you go. Honestly, I'm hopeless. And I love it. Oh. Roblox is updating. Because of course it is. Who do I have to deny? All of these people, I don't know them. Why do people send me friend requests even though I explicitly say don't send me friend requests if I don't know you? Like, I'm not going to add random people on the website. My chair is the noisiest chair in the world. Oh my god. There we go. Don't know why it wasn't full screen, but it is now. I am so disoriented right now. Alright. Oh, this is... Oh, I don't like this. I do not like this one bit. Oh. Do we really have to do this? Oh my god. Oh, this is... Oh, this is all of the things I do not like. Oh, this is... impossible. Ah, how are these people doing it? How? This is... Oh, god. This is requiring all of my brain power. Stay on the thing, damn it. How? Like, you just have to luck this one, no? I'm not getting a good time on this, definitely. I don't care, even just finishing it is an achievement. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Accuracy is not my strong point in B-hop. I think I'm finding a path that might work. It's so hard to execute on. I didn't even hit it. Piss off. No. Your touched event is wrong. No. Ah. Gotta find another server. I'm not having fun on that map. That map is AIDS. Like, it is B-hop AIDS. Let's go to a more full server. Do I have a time on this map? I don't think I do. Cool, so it's a new map. Whoa, what the fuck? Is that... What? That was new. It's like a jump pad. Oh, nailed it as style as well. Ah, and then I did that. Ah. Oh, whoa. Ooh, B. Cool. I'm assuming that's like some kind of portal. Or credits. Made by B. Ugh. Yeah, I'm not used to that. That's fun. See, I like this map a lot more because it's actually fun. Ah. Yeah, you can't skip that jump then. Ah. That's gonna catch me out a shit ton, I think. Ah. Right. Ah. No. It's just... B-hop is just L-top sounds compilation, basically. It's also L-top not doing his work compilation, but... We're doing it, boys. We're doing it. I don't know what we're doing, but it is being done. Okay. Maybe not. I jumped way higher on that one than I expect. I can What? I didn't hit the floor. I was in the sky. How did I... Okay, whatever. The game doesn't like me. I have concluded. This lump of Lua code and data does not like me. Piss, 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 piss. Where am I going? Okay. I've lost all my velocity. Oh, this map is really fun though. It's quirky. I like it. I generally like maps where I can go fast, where I can go far, like, or which like do crazy things. I like speed. Oh, that would have been so slick if I had actually nailed it. Just let's skip that entire bit. What is on the bottom of my mouse? Stop. Stop grinding on the desk. You are smooth. Act like it. Like... I legit don't know why that happens. It's really annoying. It's like there's something stuck on the bottom of it, except there isn't. It's just my mouse being... My mouse. 1 second, let me just... There we go. Will you be quiet now? Who's gonna be a quiet little mouse? You are? You better fucking be. I'll murder your family. Yeah, that's better. Now it wants to be quiet. Now I've insulted its entire heritage. Ah, yes. Doesn't help me at B-hop though. Yeah, my mouse just decides when it wants to be frictionful and when it wants to be smooth. I don't get a say in that. Ah, no. Messed it up. Come on. You can do it, Eltob. Just be better. No. The thing is that if I'm not careful, I'm going to end up being here for like an entire hour just trying it. No, that's happened. I mean, it'd be a fantastic hour, but it wouldn't be huge in development. I don't know how the fuck I did that, but it was totally unplanned. I just kind of zoned out for a second. Oh. Piss. You know what? I'll give myself until like 7 more minutes or 6 more minutes because it's just ticked over. That's how you skip that jump. Got a bit too ambitious with that one. Is it velocity dependent? It's quite an interesting mechanic of so. Oh, I know you need to go on that platform to get the height. Okay. Oh, I went to B. Didn't want to do that. I just clipped that edge and I lost all my velocity. What is stuck on the bottom of my mouse again? Stop. The desk is clean. Behave. Eltob yells at his mouse for 5 minutes. And there we go. Lovely. 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 There we go. Ah, missed it. God damn it. If it wasn't for that little flick of B-hop at the end of the first live stream last month. I mean, the worst thing is as well, I've also gotten back into Beat Saber. So now I have B-hop and Beat Saber. As if one of them wasn't enough. B-hop fusion dev, B-hop fusion dev. Exactly. Right. Yeah, I need to hit the right orientations. There you go. Like that. The worst thing about Beat Saber is when I went back into it, I got S's and SS's on all of the songs that I was playing. Which means it felt great, but it also means that now I get even more addicted to B-hop. or Beat Saber. Sorry. So it's like, my productivity is going to tank to like 0% if this keeps up. Like, so I'll just be spending my time either B-hopping, or when I get tired of that, I'm just going to go straight to Beat Saber and just demolish every song. Right? Yeah, remind me after this stream to go bug Trey about Quaternions. Well, killed my velocity a bit there, but it's not all lost. I don't really care about getting a good time as much as I care about seeing the rest of the map. You know, I'm just going to stop /Ring just so I can see Wogwanning on the rest of the map. Ah! This is going to be harder than I thought it was. What VR headset do I use? None other than the Index, also known as the get your cable replaced after like a year of warranty headset. Still preferable to the get all your Facebook data tracked by Zuckerberg headset, but kind of hope they rework that design. But yeah, the Index is actually low-key great though. Like, as long as you're not like sitting on it or something, like, then it's great. Oh, I've done it again. Yeah, the one thing about the Index that I don't like is actually not a problem with the Index, it's that Roblox doesn't support it properly. Like, I can't use the A button or the B button independently, because Roblox thinks that the Index has really weird controller bindings. And I can't modify it with the SteamVR controller binding tools, for whatever reason. So like, if I could fix it myself, it wouldn't be such a big issue. But you just can't fix it. Roblox is just forever scuffed on the Index. So I'm gonna have to design all my games of like 2 button inputs or something, just so it works on all the headsets. I do intend on releasing the VR game at some point, by the way, on Roblox. I just haven't got around to it yet, because I'm kind of working on other things. But it's going to be cool. I know Greg Tame has been doing a lot of that stuff. And I think Loveworks, or whatever they are, Lovecraft, Loveworks, one of them. Don't remember which one of them's the Roblox dev group and which one of them's the other thing. Ah, piss. I landed it and then I didn't. Oh, it's been 6 minutes, so... Yeah, okay. Let's get back to development. I don't think we're going to get the spring stuff done today, honestly. I think today is going to be Tween's day. Which is fine. It means that we can do another dev stream at some point, maybe. If I understand how springs work. But... Alright, so... Let's think now. I'm gonna stroke my beard that I literally shaved off before the stream. So say... Current value is initial value. Previous value is initial value. And say tween start time 0. No. Ideally, I'd want this Tween controller to defer to Tween service, so I don't have to handle all of the Tween info stuff myself. I don't know if that'd be a wise idea or not, but we'll roll with it for now. Let's say... We'll say current value is initial value. Previous value is initial value. We'll say ratio underscore ratio is going to be instance.new number value. Then we're going to need a destroy function, destroys this Tween Controller object. So this will be class destroy, and it'll be self._ratio destroy. Easy peasy. So we'll do underscore current tween will be nil. And what I'm thinking is to tween between like two values, what we'll do, we'll get tween service to tween the value on the number value using some like tween that we specify. Then what we can do, we'll use that as a lerping ratio between the old value and the new value so that we can use our own lerp function, which means that we can lerp between more kinds of things, which is good. And it also means that we can do stuff like perceptually uniform color lerping using the CLab space and stuff like that, which should be fun. So we're going to do starts tweening from the current value of the... Well, actually, firstly, we should write a function to get the current value of the thing. So returns the current value of this Tween controller at this point in time. This will be function class get value. Be specific about it. So this will be you know what we'll do? I'm going to say underscore computed value is going to be computed here. Look at this, the big brain stuff. So package is going to be script.parent.parent. Let's say underscore ratio is going to be state like 0 or 1, I guess. I don't know. Let's go. Computed value will just be a state object. No. We'll say underscore ratio state is going to be a state object representing the current ratio. Stored in the ratio instance. Now it's the self underscore computed state. We'll say self.value state, I guess. So tweened state would be accurate. So it'll be a computed. So we'll say local ratio equals self.underscore ratio state get. It will return lerp type self.previous value self.current value by ratio. So we'll say lerp type is going to be package dot animation dot lerp type. Local state be package dot state dot state. Local computed require package dot computed, well, package dot state dot computed. Sorry. There we go. So then getting the current value would be the same thing as saying return self dot tween state get returns a state object, returns a computed object representing the tweened value from this controller. The tweened value of this controller. This will be the tweened value of this controller at this point in time. So this will be class get state. Speed self, return self.tween state, like so. Now we need to do the logic for the tweening, right? Underscore ratio instance destroy self.ratio state destroy self.tween state destroy. That should be lowercase. Cool. So now we just need to do the tweening. So this will start tweening, or this starts a tween from the current tweened value of this controller to a new destination value using the given tween info. So using the tween info to specify how it should move. So that will be class tween to destination of any type. Tween info is going to be a tween info, like so. So do if self current tween, then now this is the point where I need to look up how this API works again. Tween info? No, it's going to be tween service, or it'll just be the tween object. I'm going to cancel it Oh, Studio's having a bit of a moment, so we'll just let it have it in the background. Self dot current tween cancel. Self dot current tween destroy. They say self dot underscore current tween is going to be tween service. This is my big brain idea of using tween service to completely handle all the tween stuff for us. And then we can just do the lerping. Tween service create self dot ratio instance tween info value is 1. And then self underscore current tween Does this happen even if the thing's been completed? No, I need to reset the values myself. Okay, cool. Go self dot underscore ratio instance dot value is 0, and then just play it. Self dot current tween dot completed. We'll just connect to that. Self dot underscore current tween destroy. Self current tween is nil. Like so. So that will start the tween. Now we just need to connect the ratio instance to the ratio state. So self dot underscore ratio instance dot changed connect function. Self dot underscore ratio state set self dot ratio instance dot value. Poggers. All right. So now that's all done. Oh, we need to update current and previous value as well. So the previous, the self dot previous value is self get value. We self dot self get value. Self dot. This is not current value. This is destination value. So destination value is going to be destination. Like so. So now that we've done that, that should all be working. Shall we test it out? I mean, this is obviously quite primitive. There's no way to like pause or like anything, but let's test this out. So we're going to go to test main. We're going to, well, I haven't actually need to pop it into Fusion first. So this will be Tween Controller is going to be require scripts.animation.tween controller. We're going to need to update the thing here. So this is Tween Controller is going to be a function, just so it doesn't yell at us that we're exporting the wrong stuff. Mistake, local Tween Controller is going to be fusion.tween controller. And I'm just going to do some testing code down here. So we'll do local TC is Tween Controller with an initial value say types.animatable or any. Say local types equals require package dot types, like that. They're going to start with udem2.new 0000. And I'm going to copy this code here. New screen GUI. It's going to have a frame in it. And this frame will have a position equal to TC get state. Size will be udem2.from offset 100 100. Do we need anything else? I don't think so. Go for it. We'll do TC tween2 udem2.new 0.5000 with a tweeninfo.new. We'll just tweeninfo.new, I guess. So we'll do wait 5. So firstly, Rojo is running, yeah. Does this work? Does it pass the unit tests and stuff? Yep. It runs, so running the benchmarks. Let's wait for the benchmarks. Okay. Woo! It worked first try! All of that code worked first try. Right, but I gotta know what's the color interpolation look like, you know. Let's get some colors up in here. Color3.new 100. And we're going to tween to color3.new 010. And what we're going to do background color3, and we're going to set the size to scale 1:1. I'm so happy that worked first time though. That was really awesome. So this should have a really nice color transition if it works. There's red. And now it's green. Woo! It works. Yeah. Woo 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 woo. Pog champ. Now I'd like to mention, by the way, it's going to get simpler. You want to see how simple it could get? Because you don't need a Tween controller for every animation, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to do tween.lua. And this is going to be a utility function that essentially it encapsulates that Tween controller into a simpler API footprint for when you just want to have a value that tweens to new values. So just like if you have like a background color state object that you just want to smooth out, you can just use this. So you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. So this is takes in a state object and returns a new state object which follows the value of the original state object using tweening. So this will be local function tween original state. Do we have a type for that? Yeah, types state. So we're going to need package. So local package, well, we're going to need it anyway because we're going to be using the Tween controller. So types, it's going to be package.types. So this will be types.state of any type. Well, I guess types.animatable or any. Which has kind of become our sort of standard notation for it should be an animatable, but it could really be anything. Like, it's a bit weird, but tween info, like this. You know what would be magic? Make the tween info optional. So if no tween info is specified, a default tween will be used. So we don't even need to specify the tween info. So it'll be if tween info is nil, then tween info is just tween info.no. Default tween. Which means that it'll be you can have a default value here as well. So what we'll do, we'll say local controller is tween controller original state get, like that. And so we'll do local tween controller equals require package dot animation dot tween controller, like so, and we'll just return controller get state original state dot on change connect function, and we'll do controller tween2 original state get using tween info, and that's that. I'll just put a little note here to do clean up everything here properly. Return tween, like that. I guess the tween controller, when it gets destroyed, it should also, oh, it already does destroy everything. Okay. It needs to do that though. Cool. Now, watch this, right? So we're going to get tween equals require script dot animation dot tween, right? And we're going to add that to the spec as well. So tween is the function. Nice. Now we're going to change up this example a bit. So let's say we have local BG is going to be a state object containing some background color. So color3.new 100. And our background color 3 is going to be set to that background color. And then after 5 seconds, we set the background to green, right? Like this. And so this is some pretty standard unanimated code, right? If we were to run this, it will behave almost exactly how you expect it to. So we just have to wait a bit while all this stuff runs. So you get red background, then after a few seconds, we're going to get green background, you know? And so that's pretty standard stuff. Now watch this. We'll import tween from Fusion. To animate this background, do you want to know what we have to do? Take this BG here, tween BG. That's it. We have animated the background. It was that simple. So now if we run this, we get perceptually uniform, smooth background color blending for free. Now, watch this. Look at this. Assuming it works, which it should. There you go. How easy was that? We literally, how many characters was that to add an animation? It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters. You can't get simpler than this. You just can't. We literally added an animation in like 2 seconds. It's fantastic. And then we can add our own tween info, obviously. So tweeninfo.new, we'll make it last, I don't know, 0.5 seconds. Easing style, elastic. Easing direction, out. Repeat count, we'll make it repeat 5 times. Make it reverse. All that stuff. Oh, 1 second. Enum. Easing style. Elastic. Enum. Easing direction. Out. So you see, we're just passing our own tween info, right? Just this tween function. And you'll see our color is going to have a bit of a spastic moment. So if you're photosensitive or prone to seizures, look away for a second. I'll tell you when to look back. So you have red. And yep, there's the spastic moment. And it repeats 5 times, or however many times we set it to. And it reverses. It works perfectly. That probably looks really weird on stream. It looks really weird on my screen. So we could do back on the color as well. That'd be interesting. So if we do like 0 to like 0.5, that might look a bit more visually interesting and maybe make a bit more sense than red to green with elastic. Like it's just really fun to play with, to be honest. Like, I've been going for 3 hours, so and there you go, right? That's doing what it's supposed to do. And it's really easy to do it. So if we just get rid of those tabs there. Look how little code that is to implement an animation. And we could animate anything we wanted to. Like, let's say we had local counter is going to be a state object at 0 or something. We're going to make a text label. And we're going to set text is going to be computed function. We're going to say return counter get players online. Right? So this is just like a pretty standard thing. Going to set text size to 24 so you guys can see it on the stream. What we'll do after 5 seconds, we're going to set the counter to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? Some amount of players online, basically. So this might be like a counter in your game, like on a leaderboard or something, or I don't know. You're the game developers, you know what statistics you have in your games. This is a statistic, right? So 0 players online, and then it fetches the data from a server somewhere with HTTP service, and it updates to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players online. Now I don't know about you, but that looks a bit ugly. So let's add a animation to it. And how do we add an animation, you ask? Local tweened counter is tween counter. And then down here, we just replace counter with tweened counter. And just like that, once we wait for Fusion's benchmarks and tests and stuff to run, take a look at this. 0 players online. And then you get a tweened value up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And of course we did that had some like non-integer values, so we'll do math.floor tweened counter get, right? I noticed your question, I'll answer it in a second because it's rather simple. So we'll just do some more processing just to like floor the value. Trying to really fill this time because the tests take a while because I don't want them to be affected by the first load. So 0 players online. And then you can't tell me that is not fantastic, right? How useful is that? Like, we've always wanted to do those sort of like animated counter things. Now you can. And to answer your question, how about if you wanted different tween info depending on the value you set it to? How easy would that be to do? Well, that's why Tween Controller exists. So if we want more control, we'll use Tween Controller, right? So Tween Controller is meant to be the beefy cousin to Tween, right? Use Tween when you just want to animate a thing. If you want to animate a thing precisely, use Tween Controller. So we'll say local controller is going to be Tween Controller, and we'll set it to an initial state of 0. Right? And instead of Tween's counter here, we'll use controller get state. Then we'll use controller tween to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with some tween info. We'll say, I don't know, 4 seconds enum.easing style dot quint enum.easing direction dot in out. Yeah, you get the idea, right? So we can choose the tween info to use when tweening to the value. And you can customize that however you want. And then once Fusion does its tests again, because, you know, it has to do those. But I am going to expand the API. Ooh. Invalid argument number 1 to floor, number expected, got table. That was meant to be get value. Oops. Man. I explicitly called those functions 2 different things so you wouldn't do that, but I did it anyway because I have the mental capacity of a bowl of peas. So this should work. There you go. Woo! It's so lovely, right? This is what I have wanted from a UI library forever, right? So you're basically making Visual Studio Code compatible with Roblox. That's pretty cool. No, I didn't do that. That was the work of some wonderful people over on GitHub. I'll show you. It's a wonderful project. You need to check it out, like right now, because it's fantastic. It's like LPG Hat Guy and like Avera and some other smart people. So there you go. It's great. Yeah, like, this is the reason why I'm never going to use anything other than Fusion ever again. This is the reason why. Like, I mean, it's great that it gives you components. It's great that it gives you a nice syntax for creating instances. But really, it's the animations. And I'm going to do the exact same thing for spring controllers and like springs and everything. But first, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's finish the Tween controller properly. Because this is meant to be the beefy one, right? Actually, should we even do this? Let's not do this. There we go. So what I'm actually doing, I'm doing the UI library stuff, right? But I'll be honest, so Visual Studio Code with Roblox Studio. Perfect. Yeah. So now we need to do the pause and resume. So it says pauses the current tween if any is currently ongoing. Equivalent to tween pause. I should put that in backticks because it is code. That's a tab. I know how to type. So function, class, pause. There we go. If we pull up tween, I'm just going to dock it. So say if self current tween no equals nil. I should really be doing that here because that is the coding convention of this project. If you're checking for nil, actually check for nil. Redefined local self. No. Oh, because I had the typo. Okay. So self current tween is nil. No, not equals to nil. And self underscore current tween, pause. And then we'll do the same thing for the other functions. Pause, do play, resumes, current tween, if any, is currently paused. Equivalent to tween play. And that's the same thing. Cancels the current tween, if any is currently ongoing. Equivalent to tween cancel. Like that. So I'm just fleshing out the tween controller so you can control the tween. That's basically what I'm doing. Then is that returns the current playback state of the tween of the currently ongoing tween, equivalent to tween dot playback state. If no tween is currently ongoing, returns enum.playback state completed. So this will be playback state return enum.playback state. Is that how enums work? Typed Luau enum. Yeah, that's how that works. I think so. Didn't want you. I wanted to do this. Yeah. Okay, cool. Fantastic. So dot playback state. Just return that. Else return enum dot playback state dot completed. But yeah, you see what I mean, right? When I say this tween controller is like going to be the beefy brother of tween. So if you need full control over your tweens, this is what you'll use to do it. So returns the tween info for the currently ongoing tween. If no tween is currently ongoing, returns nil. Equivalent to tween.tween info. I don't think we need this really. I just use it for those ones just for simplicity. This equivalent would say analogous. So say get tween info, and this will be a tween info object, optionally. And tell the current tween info, otherwise return no. And now we're going to need some events for this Tween Controller instance. Specifically, we're going to need the completed event. So in order to do this, we're going to need the event thingy from utilities. So say local event package dot utility, dot event. And we'll say self dot on complete. We'll say self dot on destination reached. Also on on destination reached is going to be event with self. The self dot on. Well, this will be on tween completed and on tween interrupted. The on tween cancelled. There's two L's. On tween cancelled with event itself. There we go. Actually, just do uncompleted and then we can just do self dot underscore current tween dot completed connect function, and we'll say playback state of type. We'll just do state playback enum dot playback state here, and then just do self dot uncompleted fire state. There you go. That should be everything. Can't think of anything else, at least. So, we have done tweens, I believe. We just need to unit test all this stuff. So, yeah. What do you guys think? Do you like this? Is this like really awesome like tweening stuff? Or is this just overcomplications that you could completely live your life without? Yeah, I'll get Twitter's opinion on it, because Twitter's always has the best takes. What do you mean undefined global enum? Celine, you lied to me. Why is this? It's enum. I want more warnings. Oh, this is I'm gonna turn it off and on again. Code. Please work. There's an update available for Selene. Well, it doesn't think enum is an undefined global now, so that's good. Yeah, so you know what? I am going to record a little clip for Twitter. I have decided. So here goes. Let's see if OBS can handle recording and streaming at the same time. All right, so you can see we've got the counter. And beautiful. Right, absolutely beautiful. Ah, perfect. All right, so it's remuxing. Hopefully it didn't just drop out for you guys, because if it did, that would be very not poggers. Yeah, this will make UI creation and animation 10 times easier. I won't miss having to write tween service create once using this. Mood. Like, like in all of my UI code, it is peppered with tween service calls, and it's really annoying. Sometimes I extract it out onto a function, sometimes I suck it up, but all of the time it's annoying. So let's post it to Twitter. Fusions, tweening APIs are all done. Live on stream, no less. Well, just say live on stream, that's easier. Check out how I'm animating this player counter. Raw recordings. It's got all my test recordings and stuff there. Where is it? Watch Twitter compression blur out the text. Yeah. Where is my show recordings? Thanks, that's very helpful. 2315. Is it this one? Is this some Inception? All right, so you can see we've got the counter. Yep, that's Inception. And beautiful. Right, absolutely beautiful. Ah, perfect. I don't like the sound of my own voice, but I don't care. It's going on Twitter. All right, I said it's going on Twitter. It's not going in the browser. It's going on Twitter. Thank you very much. So anyway, you have two options right now. You can either use the delightfully simple tween object to animate to create an animated state object out of any state, or you can opt for a more powerful Tween controller if you need precise control of tweening. I'll post code samples of both of those things. I'll do the tween example first. So say counter. It's going to be state 0. Counter set that, and then actually I'll use two different examples to highlight two different ways in which it's useful. So say local background color is going to be color or a state object color3.new 100, and background color set color3.new 010. Backgrounds color 3 is going to be tween background color tween info.new 0.5, and we'll just say tween appear so that Celine doesn't yell at us. How did I crop it in that one? I want it to be consistent. There you go. Just like that. Bish bash bosh. And copy this one. Put it there. Because all animation happens in the state tree, you can animate literally anything you'd like. This is why Fusion has been working towards lightning fast performance. So you can do stuff like this without worrying about overhead. There you go. We have done it in some capacity. We just need to do physically based animation using springs. And I'm going to send this to Trey. Telegram. Did I say? I'm not going to say anything else. I'll just send the one thing. Yeah. Okay. What happened to vanilla? This guy needs to shush. What happened to vanilla? Nothing. It still exists. It's probably because I haven't updated it in like 5 minutes. So, yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, I haven't updated vanilla in a while just because I've been working on rewriting the entire icon customizer. But yeah. Thanks, guys, for going to the tweet. That's very sweet. Anyway, with that, I think we are basically done for today because I want to save the spring-based stuff for next time because that's heavy maths, right? And I don't think I'm ready to do heavy maths right now. It is 11:30 in the evening, so it's not time for big brain maths. But I mean, to be fair, it's not that bad. I mean, I could like rip like fractality spring implementation, but I don't want to. I want to go through the maths. And anyway, I remember I was talking about this on Trey's stream, and he mentioned there was like a combination of damping ratio and speed, which could yield simpler results, and I want to investigate that. I remember he sent me on Telegram the equations. Where is it? Did I save it in my saved messages? Yeah. So, like, is it? Where is it? Is it these ones? Yeah. So, sent me these equations and stuff. So I'm going to look into that in my own time. I'm going to see if I can figure anything fun out. And next time we're going to implement the spring-based physics, I believe. Just a quick question, what VS Code extensions do you use for Lua? I use some extensions. That's a great question. So I use... Roblox LSP. I use Roho. I use Selene. And that's it. I'm very simple. What can I say? So, yeah. That's all I use. That's all I need. I know there's some people who have like Roblox Studio output integration and like test easy test running directly in VS Code, but I just don't really care for that stuff that much. I just want to write code and have it appear in my Roblox and have it checked properly. And that's about all I care about. Like, I can just do test easy stuff on my own. But yeah. I have notifications on via Twitter, so it felt odd to see the tweet get posted before I saw it get posted on stream because of stream delay. Yeah, that would be a bit weird. I mean, the same thing happens like when I post a link in chat, like it probably just appears like way early. I've seen it happen on other people's streams. Let's see. Yay, people like my stuff. This is very gratifying. Oh, I need to send this to Boat Bomber. I need to rub it in his face about how awesome Fusion is and how he doesn't have access to it yet. I make it sound like I'm being really cruel, but really it's just enthusiasm. So just say, hey, Boat Bomber, look at Fusion's cool animation stuff. Lol. I'm such a dick, but I'm the best kind of dick. I'm a dick about the things that it doesn't matter to be a dick about. Anything else going on Twitter? Me. Yeah, okay, boring. Anyway, how many people are still around? 4 of you. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. As I said, I'll take a look at all the spring maths next time. I'll see if I can parse it. I'll see if I can make my brain understand. And I'll come back to you guys next time with hopefully some maths to implement for the spring controller. So what we're going to do, just like we did with the Tween controller, we're going to have a spring controller, which lets you have very precise control over, the spring simulation. And then we're going to create a simplified version of it called Spring, which, much like Tween does, just lets you pass in a state object and have it automatically, spring simulated using whatever damping ratio and speed you want. And so it'll make implementing spring-based animation literally as simple as that. And yeah, like, I mean, it'll definitely be interesting to see how it interacts with stuff like C-frames, but it worked for everything else really well. So yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time. You've been wonderful today. It may be a bit quiet, but you're just the quiet class, I suppose. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I will see you guys next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I want to say afternoon or evening, but I don't know. Time zones are hard. Anyway, bye!